Welcome to Abu Dhabi Talks. I'd like to introduce to you my co-hosts Ro and Sana.
Hi. So today we are talking about the investment options in the UAE and outside of UAE for both expats and locals. And we have two amazing guests, Steve and Tuan. Both are board members of the group called SimplyFI, and it is a free community for sharing personal finance information and experiences. So welcome both Steve and Tuan. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Tuan.
This is a new way of doing TV.
Hi.
Huh?
Hi.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time trying to really define it. You're financial coaches?
Coaches, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you come into this financial coaching? I've not heard the term before. So I hear of advisors and all the other kind of experts.
You come into coaching via the advisors. What happens is that you get scammed by financial advisors or nearly scammed by financial advisors. And then you realize that you actually have to learn how to do this yourself so that you're not ever going to get scammed again. And then when you learn it, you think, oh, other people are going to find this useful. And so you start helping them. So I used to help people over lunch. I'd be like, give me lunch and I will teach you how to invest in the world stock market and how to become financially independent. And then eventually I started charging for it so people respect my time. But we also have SimplyFI, which is free. And we've got nearly 10,000 members now. And it's just about, no expat left behind, really, because there's an epidemic of people getting scammed. It's so important to vaccinate people. And I don't mind saying this on camera. It's so important to vaccinate people against this financial virus. It really is a pandemic of bad advice and terrible investment plans. And they spread very easily through communities. And it's up to people like us and yourselves to fight back.
How can we toe dip safely into investing something in the UAE? Where would we do it? How much would you recommend? And how long should we leave it there for?
When it comes to investing, you have to be investing for the long term. And you have to invest in a diversified way. And we would prefer to say you have to diversify globally. You can invest in sukuk, like Islamic bonds. You can invest in Abu Dhabi, the ADSM, so the stock market in Abu Dhabi, just as you can in Dubai. But we would probably encourage you, for the vast majority of your retirement portfolio, to diversify well beyond that. So I'm from the UK, and it's not like I'm putting big chunks of my money into the UK stock market. I'm putting it truly globally, because then if something happens to the UK, if something happens to the UAE, if something happens to any individual country, then you are resilient, you're protected by having a truly globally diversified portfolio. What you need to do is you need to invest in a global stock and bond fund. It's actually quite difficult to do that from the UAE, because if you phone up one of the big providers like Vanguard or BlackRock and you're like, hey, I'm an expat, I live in the UAE, I would love to invest in your wonderful Vanguard global funds, they'll just say, nope, not interested. So what you need to do, you need to invest in what are called exchange traded funds. And you need to, and that's a way to access Vanguard, iShares, all these giant fund managers. And then you can access those ETFs, exchange traded funds, through an offshore brokerage like Interactive Brokers. And that really is the secret sauce of expat investing, or just investing from the UAE.
And just to illustrate how easy it is, I'm sure most of you guys have opened up a bank account and transferred money to your friends or pay a bill, right? And no doubt
That's so easy.
Yeah, and no doubt you guys would have bought things off Amazon or Souk in the past. Setting up an international portfolio is the same thing, but actually easier. All you need to do is open up a brokerage account, international one, as Steve had mentioned, send money to your account, and you're simply buying one stock and one bond, two things over and over and over again. And the beauty about it is that you don't have to wait at home for it to get delivered. It simply sits in your account. Every 3 months, your earnings is paid to your account directly. There's nothing else for you to do. When you get paid at the end of the month, you send some more money, whether you save to your account. Keep buying the same two things over and over again. And that is really the secret of it all. There is not a lot to do, and technically it's not very hard at all. And one of the things that many people don't realize is that the amount of money that grows over time is actually due to the compounding of the money. It's not due to buying or selling. So that's where people make a mistake. When you buy and sell, the only one that makes money are the brokerage company who charges you a commission every time you buy and sell. But over the long term, mathematically, we know that all the money you've made, in fact, if you invest over 30, 40, 50 years of your entire lifetime, 90 to 95% of all the money is just simply the compounding of interest over time. Nothing to do with what you buy or sell them at. That has very little at all. Going back to a little before, one of the stocks and bonds that we recommend highly within our group is the Vanguard FTSE All World. And it contains thousands and thousands of companies, of the biggest companies all around the world, including a couple from the UAE as well. And
but is it easy to actually invest in these markets as an expat?
Yes,
Abu Dhabi and Dubai.
you can invest through a bank. There's lots of brokers in the UAE. There's over 100 brokers. You can every major bank has a brokerage, and you could buy and sell stocks.
How about property investments?
Particularly now as well, like during COVID.
Lots of people are seeing the markets go down. They are seeing the property prices go down. And so they sense an opportunity. And I think if you are in the UAE for the long term, then yeah, there probably is an opportunity, because prices are cheaper than they will be at some point in time. So it really depends on your time horizon. I think just because prices are cheap now doesn't mean that they won't be even cheaper at some point. And I think this is where people have to be careful. If you have less than a 5-year time horizon, then you could be shocked by prices going down even further. And if you can't handle that mentally and financially, then you should be pretty careful. If you think that rent is wasting money, which it isn't necessarily, renting does buy you flexibility. If you lose your job and you need to move to Singapore or the UK for your next job, and you find yourself with a property in Abu Dhabi that you don't need because you're not living there anymore, with a big mortgage, you could cause some problems for yourself. So right now, yes, there are buying opportunities, but I would also say that cash is king. You must have 6 months total expenses, including any loan payments, even if you have a tenant that's paying that off, allegedly, because tenants have a habit of disappearing in tough times, right? 6 months total expenses. You must have that as cash in your bank accounts, and set that aside. Don't then go and binge that money on property or stocks just because they seem cheap. That money, that cash buffer, is going to give you true resilience. If you lose your job, that will enable you to live comfortably for the next 6 months until you find another job that you like.
Have you heard of smart crowds? What do you think about it?
So smart crowd is a way to, is like a crowdsourced way to buy property and invest in property, which means that instead of whacking down 100,000 dirham deposit, you can buy a slice of lots of different properties for a small amount. The idea is great, and I wish them well. My own personal feeling is that there are a number of things that haven't been tested out. So you are relying on a contract. If you're buying something with a lot of other people, you're relying on a really watertight legal contract in case something goes wrong. And I don't believe any of those contracts have been tested in the courts yet. And that gives me pause a little bit.
Just to get back to the savings plan,
Yes.
anything else you want to add on that?
Yeah, this is my my pet topic. I hate these with a passion. And
Me too.
Me too.
these things, I think, Freya, you've seen directly the amount of pain and suffering expats have gone through, and it is devastating. And this is one of the reasons why our group formed in the first place, because some people were stuck in these things and they're looking for help and they did not know what to do.
Have no access to their own money that they've been pouring in for years and years.
Savings were simply stolen from under their eyes, and there's nothing they can do.
And the way that they were wined and dined into these plans, you know, it's just terrible.
It's terrible. And unfortunately, I've had to help hundreds of expats, and I've seen firsthand what has happened. I guess I could go through basically quickly what these things are, so to help the viewers, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are stuck in these and wanting to know what to do. When we have a pandemic like this, there's a massive amount of inquiries I get because people debt for their money because they've lost their job and they're suddenly trying to access the money, and suddenly they're told, sorry, there's no money in your account. It was just all a lie, and all your savings, months and years of saving was all for nothing. And it's absolutely devastating. So hopefully if I can save one person from getting stuck in these, I've done my job. And the people that are stuck, hopefully I'm going to give some quick advice what to do to minimize your loss. So these savings plans, what most people don't realize is that these are insurance products masquerading as investments, independent financial advisors.
Listen, people,
All
to that.
it is. Please do not touch them with a 10-foot pole.
Can I act it out while he talks?
If you get cold
I want
calls,
to give him a standing ovation. I'm so happy you're saying this.
I'm not done yet because I'm going to go through exactly what they are and what people to do. So these products, they've been banned in developed countries for decades. And because they know that expats, there's nothing expats can do. And I want to illustrate how these things work. There's actually two parts to the trap. Basically, I'll divide them into an initial trap and then an ongoing trap. With the initial trap is, most people don't realize is that when you sign the fine print, you are telling them that you agree to give 100% of your savings in the first 18 months. But after 18 months, all the money that you give them has a mountains of fees that's piling on and on. Now these fees, investigation has shown them to be about 4 to 6% per year, right? Now, over 25 years at 4%, 4 times 25 is 100%. That means you agree over 25 years to give 100% of all your capital. So what is left in your account is just simply the small crumbs of earnings over the years.
Yeah.
That is what people unknowingly sign on for. And these things, they work by what I call, they use arithmetic trickery and legalese to confuse and deceive people. I guess the question to ask is, if you're trapped in one of these things, what can you do? Unfortunately, there is not much you can do. The surrender cost that they tell you is fake. Everything is fake, right?
That's exhausting.
Yeah, it is incredible. So it's fake. There is no surrender fee. that fee was just the hidden upfront fee. So they will try to get you to stay in there as long as possible by telling you all these untrue things. For example, if you stay, the longer you stay, we will refund your money. But what they don't tell you is that for every dollar that they return to you, they will take out more money. So what it is, they use a lot of arithmetic and creative accounting to take more and more money from you. So effectively, when you look at the fine print and the legal document, the longer you stay, the more money they take away from you, and there is not a thing you can do. You have signed a legal straitjacket. They have your money, they have all the paperwork, you've got nothing to stand on. And when people go to complain, the most common reply I hear people say is that the advisor will say, well, you should have read the fine print. Not a
policies out in case of death. Like, why do I oppose these things vehemently? Because I remember when I was a teenager, when I was younger, when my father died, he'd invested years in one of these plans in the UK, for example. So when he died and it was time for my mother to complain, I'm not even exaggerating. I remember to this day seeing the letter, £16.72 a month my mother was entitled to after years and years of paying the money. And she spent months trying to follow this up. His money had gone. And from that day forward, I decided never, ever, ever to put my money in with these people. And I would make sure other people, you know, what I do, I do not allow them around the edges of what I do now. And it's horrifying how they lock you into this.
What the advisors will try to do is say, to tell you to put all your family onto the policy, right, as a benefit. But what they don't realize is that in the fine print is that if you die, the responsibility to keep paying transferred to all the people named in the policy.
Yep.
Therefore, everyone must die before they will give you a single cent left.
Oh my God, we need t-shirts. Let me get some
Lots of countries where there are lots of expats, there are lots of scams, and some are just absolutely criminal scams, and some have the veneer of respectability through institutions like financial advisors. And so there have been scams where, like foreign exchange scams, where you invest $25,000 and you get so much a month, you get 10% a month, and then you tell all your friends, and it's just a pyramid scheme. So there are a lot of scams out there, but the more dangerous ones, I think, are the ones that masquerade as legitimate savings plans.
What is your advice for expats before they leave the country?
So if you are about to leave the country, it helps to prepare ideally a year and a half in advance. I understand that lots of people don't have that luxury at the moment, but if you can, do understand the tax regulations of the country that you're moving back to, whether it is your home country or a new country, because that's going to make a difference. What you have to be most careful of are things like capital gains tax and income tax in the country that you're moving back to. So for example, if I'm moving back to the UK, I won't get taxed on the money that I earned while I was in the UAE if I've been away for a long time, but I may get taxed on the gains that I have made on my investments, my property investments, my stock investments, when I go back and I try to sell those investments and realize the gains once I'm back being a UK taxpayer. So before you move back, you may well need to sell your property, or at least investigate the tax implications. You might want to sell all of your stock holdings, and then the day before you move, and then the day after you move back, rebuy them again. There are ways that you can do this to protect yourself from tax. The other thing you have to do is to close down your financial life in the UAE, and do allow enough time for this. To your utilities bill, your phone bills, allow time for them. allow time to find a mover, allow time to get a shipping company, and do think of the timing of all these things. And then my final point, I think most importantly, if you are going to get a gratuity, and be very clear, you are most likely owed a gratuity by the company that you are leaving, make sure you get the gratuity. And in the UAE, the law is on your side. It is there to protect you. Make sure you get your gratuity.
When your gratuity is about to hit your account, make sure you take some cash out of your bank account so you can settle any bills you need, because once your gratuity hits the account, the bank might freeze it, and then it's going to be very hard for you to settle bills if you don't have any money access to it.
So run us through, how does it work, the group? So say if I'm a member, just run us through sort of the process.
It's primarily a community that exists on Facebook, really. And so if you have a question, you can post it on the group, and within about 10 minutes, someone will give you an answer. And within about 3 hours, you'll have 10 people supporting that answer. So that's the initial stage. And then also we have information, we have guides that people can go away and read. And that means that they're not asking the basic questions, that we can educate them on the basics of financial independence, index investing, and investing from the UAE, because all of those things you actually need to learn a bit about. No financial advisor, no bank, none of them are going to teach you how to invest your money cheaply and sensibly, because they want to make some money out of you. And this is the joy of what we do, is that we can just tell you how to do it. Because we're not affiliated with any other institution.
And we have a policy similar to you as well. We screen members incredibly carefully. Our admin Heidi, she goes through every single application very carefully to make sure that there's no one that's affiliated who have a hidden agenda, and any members that dares to try to steal our members list or do anything underhanded will be automatically kicked out straight away.
If you are saying to yourself, I am not good with money, I'm not good with investing, I'm not smart enough, that is absolutely not true. And you have to turn that around and say, I'm not good with money yet. Or even better, say, I am good with money. Because by saying I am good with money, you will start to read, you will start to find people who can help you. And one day someone will say to you, oh, how do I transfer money from the UAE to the UK? And you'll say, oh, you just use Revolut or TransferWise or whatever. And suddenly you'll realize, wow, I am good with money. And so trust yourself, take control of your money. Don't let anybody else, even if it's your partner, don't let anybody else manage your money without you being involved. And you'll feel so much better, and you'll have control, and you'll have a lot more resilience, and you'll have an amazing future. And that
is amazing.
That was really informative, actually. There's a lot of information there.
Thank you so much. Please do all stay in touch. It was really fun today.
For sure.
Hope it helps people. It spreads the word.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.